Hey, Fitzy here, back at the game with another one. A little bit different here today. Down on the beach. We got a snowstorm coming, so I'm going to videotape some stuff here. It's the calm before the storm. As you look around me, there's not a breath of wind. Beautiful day here. The ocean's calm. So I'm going to head up to the house here now and show you up around the door. We haven't had much snow here the year. Our winters are mild compared to other years. This time last year, I think we had 60 centimeters of snow or something, or more, I think. It was called Snowmageddon. This here, what you see here behind me, this is the old Newfoundland Railway. It's a trail now, a walking trail. So trains used to pass by my place years ago, long before I lived here. All my junk. But as you can see, there's no snow around my property whatsoever. A little bit up there, a few flurries on the ground. But I'm over getting this thing ready. Oh, she's a beaut. I got this a few years now. I'll give her a look. She's mint. Curb feelers in there. Then she's got the body adjustment unit. She wouldn't go in park or reverse, so I had to put that on her. A few lightning holes. And a big fancy winch powered blade. Oh, she's mint. She needs a little bit of tender love here on the quarter panels. Just look at that. That's mint. Just hope it don't fall off. No, I'm not doing videos on this. Get it out of your heads. But as you can see, today, this is, I think it's around 11:30 in the morning on Thursday. And we're supposed to get snow starting here at around 12, dinner time today. And it's supposed to snow until tomorrow. So I got to get a few things straightened away here. And that was one of them. Making sure I got the battery on charge in the garage now, so that'll be ready to use tomorrow. It's now the next day, about 24 hours later, and we had a snowfall, they say, between 25 and 30 centimeters. But that's it. Things change here in a hurry. It's 24 hours. And the old girl, I got her fired up this morning. We came out and I cleaned everything up, plowed the driveway and whatnot. Looks pretty in the trees, huh? Beautiful day here now. Wind is up, it's cold. What is it? Time to get to work. I think I'm gonna spend the day at this puppy. I gotta clean the garage first. So, first thing I got to do here now is I'm going to have to clean the garage and set everything up. I've been working on the little Datsun pickup there. I'll be doing a video on that soon. But I got to set everything up here and I get cleaned up so I can get working on this. So, time to clean the garage. So here's where we're going to move on to now. I'm going to start repairing all this down here. As you can see, a few holes, whatever. And you see this factory seam coming down here. I'm going to retain that and join it again. I got to do some repairs here as well. And the bumper originally came out through here. I'm just going to come straight across for now and down and worry about that later. I'll cut it out if I need to because I'm going to be mounting the bumpers on this differently. So I don't think I really need to cut that out and follow that line there. So I'm just going to roll it across here and come down here. Probably put a roll edge or something on it. I know the bumper's about here, so I can do a nice curved turn here somewhere. I want to clean all this up. A lot of people have said about leaving the patina on it. It would be nice, but I have so much metal work to do. Like over here, I got to repair that quarter panel. Here, I got to cut this off. I got to move this back, so all this here is going to be interfered with. I got to put a bottom of the door here. I do rocker panels on it here, bottoms and the fenders. Top of the hose is in there. That needs repairs, so patina on. This is the worst side here. This is really bad. I start playing around cleaning it all off, just grinding it off, see how bad it really is. And it's pretty good. I'll clean it up a bit better than that. But like you can see the door here, you can see how heavy this is on it, right? And I got a bad spot here that I found along here that I'm gonna have to repair. So like, I'm not too concerned about it. I like to have this one here looking nice. I'm building the truck patches and I'm leaving that one all rusty. But this one here, where I'm trying to do this and make it look nice, because of the car that it is, I want it to look presentable looking. But it's probably just going to end up being primer for now. So my whole goal is to get all the metal work done, do the whole body in a coat of like an etch primer. Probably the same stuff as on Wendy's car over here. I'll use a gray or something on it and put that on it. So, and that's my whole plan with it. Next thing I do now is go in here and look at all this. Here's what I got going on here. I want to clean all this up in here. I want to remove this last piece here. Leave the lip there as well, but I want to get all this out of the way. I'm going to concentrate on from here back on the car and get all this finished up and glued up. Along here, I get to remove all this panel here off of this from the original trunk lid. Same along. I'm not going to bore you with all the removing that. I'm just showing you what I'm going to be removing all along here, right? Up as far as there. Okay, I got it all cleaned up. Everything removed down on the bottom side there. It's all bad down there. The wheel lips were bad there. Not concerned about it. I won't get into that now because I got to move back to quarter pounds anyway, but I cleaned it all up. I was amazed. Look, the bottom lip was still good on the car. It's got one little bad spot there, but that's pretty good. But anyway, let's get back into this here because we're concentrating on this back section here. There's a lot of issues here, a few holes here. I'm going to take this right up to this crease. There's a crease going right along here. I'm going to take the entire panel and cut it clean right off to there when it comes time and replace everything from there down. I'm going to make this more sizing it up. I'm going to try to make it all in one complete piece, entire panel. And I'm going to put a lip on the bottom of it. I might even put this bead in it. Might play around with that idea. We'll see. I got to make sure I got this measurement here. I want it to flow like it did originally, except for this section here. Instead of that, this is just going to come over here and turn and go down. To match that, it's just going to come up and turn, like so. I'm not going to get into that because I don't know where I'm going to be mounting, what way I'm mounting the bumpers on this shit. I don't think I need to go through that much trouble. It just makes more work for myself. And I got to replace this section of the quarter panel here, so I'll replace that. But I'll make the panel first. Again, I'm not removing that off the car. I'll leave it there till I get it made. I might end up cutting off this lip because this might get in my way for the fit on the car. But the same as before, I'll just make the panel fit it like it is. So let's get a piece of metal now and cut it out. And the size of that, I'm going to make it a little bit longer, a little bit wider, and the full length of it, and go from there. And I went ahead and I cut this piece of tin steel out here, cut it out of them panels, and got it all so it's a nice big piece that I can start with. I wanted to stop here and point something out. I said it a few times before. When you're building panels like this here, floors, large sections, one quick little tip you can always do with these is always sand the panel before you start doing any metal work. Have the panel, you're going to be painting it inside and out, so, you know, sand both sides of the panel. In the case of this here, I had to strip it off because it's got that coating on it, so I just stripped it down with a 24 grind disc, so it's got a real rough finish on it. I don't mind that. You could probably sand it with 100, you know, take your panel, cut out your piece of steel, sand it with a bit of 100 sandpaper on both sides, so that when it comes time that you got the panel all made and you crawl up underneath the car and you got to paint it, the panel's already sanded. Alright, so here's what I went and did. I turned around, I lined up this edge here with the edge that I want to cut it off at, right here on the inner side of it. And I went ahead and I got two big C-clamps and I clamped it in place. These are great to have. If you haven't got them, you should pick them up. A couple of them are good enough. But I clamped them on both sides and I fitted from side to side. As you can see, it's a little bit shorter here and it's a little bit longer over here. Not concerned about it. Okay. Then I went in and I drilled 4 locations with a 1/8 drill bit, one at a time. I drilled one and put a Cleco in it. You've asked me about these. You can buy these on eBay all over the place. You can buy it. They're called Clecos, and they're wonderful little things. So they're great for doing what we're doing here now. The reason why I'm doing this now is that when I takes off these vice grips and I start making this panel, I got a location that I can always return it to, right back to the same position again. So the panel is hanging there now. The original panel is still in behind it. I got 4 good locations that it's mounted to. So now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go inside here. I'm going to start marking a few things, as you can see here, where the panel is to going along. I'm going to mark that there just to give me a rough idea of where the shape is going to be. And I'm going to come out here and I'm going to mark this straight down here and cut this panel off so it's parallel to this here. This has to kick in and go down this way, but for now I'm just going to cut it off straight. Same one on this side here. So I get then I have a measurement that I can measure off coming over here from this outside edge on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to trim them up. There's the mark on one end. There's the mark on the other end. I just mark straight edge and flip it over. And you can see that I marked the bottom of it where it was still good. And over here, then it fades away and it's all rusted out. And then I've got this one corner, that's all I got to go by. So now when I get to this outer edge, I can take this measurement from here to here and go over there and duplicate it on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut these ends off to get started on it. Quick tip. If you've asked about cut with a grinder, cut with a straight edge. Little trick you can do. Take your piece of angle iron and put that right on your wired edge. Much the same as the cut and butt process. Take it and then clamp it on. Put it on your line. Clamp it on. Then just take your grinder. And lay it up against the angle iron and ride along the angle iron like that, and then you'll get a perfectly straight line. Perfect straight line every time. Now I got the ends cut off on both ends, and got it turned over again now. So all I'm going to do now is I got this marked, this edge here. I'm going to turn around and measure from this panel here to here, and I'm just going to make sure I got a full straight line. I'm going to draw a bunch of lines on this now just to get a reference of where the panel is. Right here, I'm going to draw a line up here using the straight edge, like so, the crossover line, and I'll do the same with down here. I'll measure that there. Then I'll take from this measurement here to here, and I'll repeat the whole process over there, so that way I got symmetrical on both sides with these cuts. I'm not worried about the curved edges yet, and the round edges, I'll play around with that, because I got to put a roll lip and everything on it. But for now, I just want to get a rough shape of where it's going to go. All I did is, this is the side here that I already had this corner marked out on. I measured up from kept it off from the top, and measured from the top down to here. And I turn around and I just measure and drew a line here, and I measure the top from here over, and then I duplicated that over here with the same measurements going this way. And all I did is I had this round corner here, so I went and found a washer that was the right size to use that for the measurement, and then I just duplicated that, and I figured I'll just put a rolled edge in it there, and I'll do the same thing over here and down here. Now that I got it figured out, that's roughly what it's supposed to look like on the car. But this here rolls in underneath it, and there's a lip that goes underneath the bottom of this as well. Like if you look on the inside here, you will see there's a little lip here. Okay, there's a lip here, and there's also supposed to be a lip coming down here, and then there's a little lip on the very bottom side here, as you can see going along there. So I got to make sure I got to leave enough for that. So what I got to do now is go around and mark where I'm going to cut the pieces off to give me some room. I want to leave enough that I can put a large lip on it. Like you would try to bend a little 1/4 inch lip. It's a lot easier to bend a 1/2 inch lip than it is to bend a small lip. So if I can put a large lip on it, I'll bend it up and then I'll just trim it off after the fact. These corners here are going to have to be welded, and this whole section here is going to have to be welded because that rolls down underneath the car. You won't be able to roll this section here. So I'll roll it up here and I'll roll it down here, and I'll see what way it'll work in here as well. So I'll go ahead now and mark all that up and figure out where I can start cutting it off. Okay, I'm going to leave this piece here. You can see this here whole section here will be cut out along here. I'll do that after the fact. I'm going to leave this lip here, this section here, and along here as well, because that's going to be lip I'm going to bend up. and repeat the same process over here. I'm going to cut this whole center out of this first. Now save this piece here, nice big chunk, and I'll just cut that out, and then I'll work on getting all this here straightened away first. I trimmed out the big section, then I got over here then, and I turn around and I cut it off a square across here and down here, and cut the piece out of it. Like that. So you're left with that, them two sections there. And then I cut these out and round these edges. And how I did that, I took the grinder, just cut them up like that, never went all the way to the line, cut it off roughly down here. Then I just took the big electric grinder and I shaped it. Simple as that. Up inside here, and just took my time, grinding back the metal until I got the shape I wanted. And I got the shape I wanted there. There it is, laid up in place. Size everything up. I still have to cut back this corner. This has to go back on an angle and come down this way. I'm not worried about that right yet. But I got it. I got it put up in place here in them Cleco locations, so it always returns back to the same place. I went ahead and marked all these holes right here that are for the valance cover. I would mark them on the panel and drill them out for them to be holes out here so I can bolt it back on again. And like I said, I must put the bumpers back on this car. But now before it does any shaping or whatsoever, I've sat here and thought about it. I would like to put a bead, like is in the factory one, right along there. Just to put a bead in it. And the biggest issue I got with putting a bead in that, and there's my bead roller over there. I should introduce you to that, because I haven't done nothing on bead rolling yet. But you can see I gotta move all this stuff now in order to get that bead roller out. So when I get it out, I'll be back. And here she is, the old bead roller. I say I've got this 20 years, 25 years I'd say. I picked it up locally. It was a homemade unit made here by a local guy, and it changed hands a couple of times. And I ended up my hands with it, and I got it ever since. But it's just a basic, no different than the ones that you buy at Princess Auto. It's just that everything is a lot more beefier and heavier than them, the bigger gears and whatnot. And my adjustment is on the bottom because it doesn't lift up on the thing, it just loosens up and this falls down. I've just got it made up and put on a little frame. This is the bead. I intend to use this one here. I got that on the stand, but that's the old bead roller. Figured you might find some interest in seeing that. I had this here mounted and jury-rigged up. I was doing a rolled edge on a aluminum dash in a race car a while ago, so I had that rigged up. But this is what I'm trying to duplicate here now, is this bead here. As you can see, it just ends there and it ends there. So I'm just going to duplicate it. Oh no, it ends there. That ends there. It ends there. And that's all I'm going to do, is do the same thing there, just so it just doesn't look so bare. Not going to put nothing on the outside edge. She has a little something right here, a little bump. But no, I'm not even going to bother with it. It's behind, all that's behind the bumper, you're not going to see it. But I just like to do that just for the sake of doing it. Sizing it up, I was going to roll the bead first, but then I will have a hard time bending the flange over because the edge is next to that there. Now there's a bit of a distance there, maybe the bead might end up a little bit higher. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to bend this flange and have that bent over and trimmed off. So, and then what I'm going to do, because there won't be much left on it then, and I'll use that flange as a guide to guide the bead. So wherever it falls, it may fall a bit higher because of the guide. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to bend up the flange. So all I'm going to do to bend the flange down, so I'm going to use my metal brake. I'm just going to clamp it in place here. And I got a mark there up to the edge of that there. And the same one over on this side here. And all I'm going to do, I'm not going to use the brake as a brake. I'm just going to use this here, clamp it down. I'm going to tap down on this here and fold that edge down so that it rolls in underneath the back side of it. And Okay, I got them swapped over. They're ready to go. The way I got them mounted on this here with these washers and everything, I only got this distance here to use as a guide. So over here, I got this set up here now. I'm going to cut this off along here so it'll give me a guide and it won't be in the way of that large washer. All I went and did is I clamped it to my piece of I-beam and laid it on the side. Clamped it onto it. Now I got a nice edge there, something like that clamped on. Put a pair of vice grips on that, a few pairs of vice grips on that whole place, and I'll just trim that right off there now. How I set my depth on this one, most of them they set it from the top. The top comes down on them. But this one here, as you can see, this here falls down. There's a bolt on the back side that it slides in. And all I do to change the depth of it is I turn around and I loosen off that nut there, and then I find my depth that I want. In the case, mount it all the way down pretty well. I set my depth, and then that nut, I'll bring that up so it brings up in the body of it, and I'll just tighten up this one. Bring that to that. And I'll tighten two of them together. So then all I got to do now is let go of the bottom one, and my depth is set with this here, the way this is all put together. So I can do multiple beads now just by bringing this up like so. When that bottom's out, that's it. It's the same bead as the next one. I have two spots marked on this here panel, one here and one here. They're going to be my stops and starts. So the first thing I'm going to do is just make sure my range of motion, everything is good. So I'm not going to bind up. I'm just rolling along to make sure there's nothing on the back side of that edge. And then I'll bring it back here and line it up with the center of it here, like the two of them, and tighten up that bottom guide where I'm happy with it. See, the bottom's out there. And what I'll do now is I'll run that across that. Wrong way, Tony. So I got the bead done, put up a bit of a fight, head a dolly in a bit and straighten up this edge and whatnot, but I'm happy with it. It's not a bad old bead. Would have been better if I had to have a second person here because it kind of got a little bit wavy on me in a few spots. And by rights, I should have a motor on it. I've been talking about that for years, put a motor on that with a foot pedal. I just never got around with it. I think it's pretty old. It doesn't exactly roll true either, right? So, where it was a homemade unit. Maybe I should invest in a new one, eh? But anyway, I'm going to clean all this up, straighten this up a bit better, that type of stuff, and then I'm going to fit it on the car and see what it looks like. So I got to mount back in place again. There's a little bead going across there. Got it going like the way it was from factory. So now I got to fit back in place. What I went and did, I marked it here, because now I'm going to cut these sides down and get the exact side. So I marked it on the body here so I can take my measurements from here down to here out from the corner and how far it is to the edge. I'll use this reference line here and did the same thing over here. Like I was saying, I'm just doing this one step at a time. Not worried about none of that. You're looking at, oh my God, Tony, this hanging down some lot there. What are you going to do with that here? We'll get to that. Let's get this straightened away first. Here you can see the marker that I marked. That was outside the panel there. And you can see this is what the shape that I got to cut in here. All I did is I come in here and took measurements like this. I measured from that corner up to the marker. And I measured from that there to that there. Just wind that in so I got that distance there and measured it. And I come over here. And I measured it in here. And I made that measurement. And of course that one there. And that's how I got the line. So now all I'll do now is I'll just cut this off and remove them two sections on both sides, as you can see here. I got that one, so then I'll have the panel looking like the way it's supposed to. If you look at it there. That's the way it comes down there, and then comes straight down. Trimmed off them corners like we talked about, and you see me in the pipe bamble. I'm bending the radius on the bottom side of that to get a nice crowned edge on that there. The other side the same way. I got to roll. So now what I got to do now is I got to put a lip on the bottom of this here, bending out this way. So I got to bend this lip up because this is bringing it up when I push this in on it, on the piece that's there. But you can see it's lined up pretty good with the original paneling behind it. Only like that. It's just got to push it in a small bit, but it's fitting pretty good all the way along. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll this edge here. All it is, I got a line on the back side that I lined up at the top of the vise, and I just bend it, clamped it in the vise, that's all, and I'm just going to bend it over. I'm going to pull it from the curved edge, don't pull it from the top because you'll only flatten the whole thing out again. So, get your hammer, then work that edge. That don't need to roll all the way over, because on the car I noticed that it points straight down, so. Roll this then to get a decent roll on it. There we go. There you get the roll lip on the bottom with a nice rolled edge on, see? Now I got the panel mounted, and I went and I trimmed away a section in behind this here to make this fit better, because the lip and everything that was on the bottom of this was interfering. This is the piece there that was interfering with the fitting of this panel. So I just trimmed it off up along here. As you can see, that's the way that was. Cut that out of the way. So then I clamped it onto the quarter panel. I still got to replace all this. I'm not concerned about it right yet. I just want to get this roll here nice, and I want to work on this piece, which as you can see here. Now this here has a little lip that goes down and follows around and goes like that. Now how are you supposed to make a little piece with that shape there? It's not always easy. It's got to be flat this way, all the way along, up along the top. So you know that it's just going to be a flat piece. So all I went and did is this. I took a piece that was wider. Here it is here. And I went over here in the pipe bamble and I bent it. And I bent it up, right, to fit it so that it's the lip is on the inside. So I set it up so that it fit flush on the outside. You can see the way it sticks out on the bottom. But there's enough material on the inside to give us an inner lip, and of course there's a lot up here, and then that butts into this lip that's here, and that'll just flow right down around into the bottom there, and then this here's trimmed off, and this fades off into one or the other. But that's all how you do it, and that way you end up with a straight edge. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to weld that right on there where it's two, and grind it up, cut it up, and dress it up. So this is what you're left with. I got this piece, I've got to take it off now, I'm going to weld it all up. And you can see the way it's all welded on, and there's a nice big tab hanging off it. And on the inside, you can see there's lots left over. So what I'll do is I'll weld this on the inside here now, and then I'll trim it all up out here. I'll cut this corner off it, and I'll weld it on the outside there. And I'll weld it up here. And then I'll cut it down and trim it, and grind it, and I'll cut this off. You do the same thing like if you're doing tailpipes on a car and you're wanting to cut into the end panel, and it's shaped like this. Same process, you can do the same thing with that. It'll just go up and go around, it's a wide piece, slide it in there, tack well up in place. So when it's all finished, this is what it looks like. When it's all said and done. Look at it. Yeah. Got the lip cut off on the bottom, all faded out, and it looks very nice. Then when it's set on the car, you got a nice rolled edge all the way up around, and it flows into the bottom panel. See the way that's done? It's all welded on the inside. Not gonna do nothing with that. Right? On the bottom side here, she was tapered off a bit because that's the way the factory one was. So it's much along the lines similar to that, right? With the lip and everything on it. So I got that panel there figured out. So I'm going to go ahead now and finish off the other side, and that'll be it for basically for that panel. Quick note, when you're doing this stuff like this here, do not cut that in there until you got this entire outer edge all dressed and looking good, because you might cut too much of this out. So once you got this all cut or all grinded down and dressed, then you can go ahead and start shaping that inner side piece. So there I got all test fitting one last time. I'm going to have to do this section now, replace all that there. I went ahead and I had the holes marked, so now I drill the holes for the rear valance to the bumper piece to bolt on here. I can't even name what you call that. Bumper extension, I suppose. But you can see it lines up with the original holes. That I still have the panel in behind it. So I got them to line up on all them. And you know, it looks good when you get down here and you look in underneath it. This edge, nice roll lip on the bottom, going across. Just got the nice little factory bead across the back here. Next step is to cleave all this off here, and I'm going to lose this clinko up here now because I got to cut this up to here to do this repair on that. But I do have the holes and everything there, and so I'll manage with it the way it is. And I still have these two, so it's not like the panel's going to move. So I'm going to go ahead now and start in on these pieces here and get these two end pieces made. So now I got the panel removed, and now what I got to do now is I got to make up this piece here. So this piece here, I'm going to take it right up tight to here, and I'm going to weld it on the inside across here, because this is where the panel is going to come to, and I'm going to replace all this on here and down underneath her, and then come in to about here somewhere. So I'm just going to cut a strip of steel out, so big and so long, and I already done that right here. So all I'm going to do now is, as you can see, that's going to fit there, like that. It's just a flat piece. So now I got to shape it here. So the first thing you're going to be concerned about is this roll. Get this roll in the first. Don't be concerned about this corner right yet. But get the roll in through here first. All I did is I put it in the bender and just bent it around till I got it. I got a decent shape on it, see? Don't worry about over bending it. You can always bend it back. But it's only on the bottom side of it. And I just kept going back and forth and checking it. So now I just checked it against this here, and I got a decent crown going around that. Probably flatten it out a bit more. I'm not going to worry about the top up here yet. And so now I got to bring it over here, and as you can see, when you bring it over this outside edge, this sticks off. So now I got to rotate this edge in around this way. So how are we going to do that? Take it over the bench and I'll show you. All I'm going to use is to top off an old bottle. Just clamp down on my voice. Take a hammer, just lay it on the edge of it there like that, and start working the edge around. Don't try to beat it all at once, just take a small bit and work your way back. I got it fitting there pretty good now, as you can see. It's along the edge there, going up along there. So, like, all I done was, I just turned around, as you can see, the panel, a bit of a crown on it. Okay. A bit of a crown on that upper section there. See it better there. Okay. One thing you find about rolled edges is you can take halfway through the corner, but it's very hard to roll around the edge because then you're starting to get into metal overlapping. But usually when you go halfway through, like if you come here and went halfway through this rotate here, if all this was bad, you only take it to here and roll to here. If you try to take all this in, it'll be very hard to try to get that full roll in. But I find it's pretty easy to do half of the actual roll itself. So I got the piece made there now, so all I need to do, I got to fit in place. I got to mark it up here now and cut the top off it and get it fit near it, and then I got to start cleaning everything up. I'm just going to cut the top out of the way here, and I'm going to do the cutting butt down through here. Now all I'm going to do, I'm leaving all that alone. There's two layers up here. I'm going to cut through the two of them, and I'm going to push the panel in past that and weld it from the inside. But all I'm going to do is just overlap it, like so. I'm going to place where I want it to sit nice and comfortable. Grab it in place, line it all up so it fits good in along there. And all I'm going to do is just tack weld it on there. I'll just work my way up, clamp it in place as I'm going. Using the old metal to hold it in place. I'm not going to worry about it being perfectly flush right yet. I'm just more concerned about the position of it. this should be good enough there. What I start doing now is I'll cut across here and cut this corner and get this corner fitting good and fitting on the inside. Then I'll start cutting down along here and cutting across here. Now, as you can see, I pushed that in past that panel, and it's gone and past it all there now. So all I'm concerned about is getting this edge out here right, and working my way down here and getting this butt weld in place here. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to cut this here and butt all that there in place, and I'll come back and show you. There it is, all welded in, grind up. You look down across it, see the way it crowns around, all around the entire panel. Crowns down underneath the bottom of it. Here's the piece I cut out of it. That was there. That was right there like so. I went and welded it on the inside. This is the lip up here. This is going to be cut off down here later on, but I welded it to this, and then I'd give it another bead right on the inside to give it strength. I never got carried away with grinding the welds off. I want to give it strength in there. There'll be a bit of strain down here where it's on a corner, but that'll come out pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to go over and do the other one there now. That side is all done, all ground up and dressed up. I went ahead and I fit the panel back on and I marked the edge of it. So this is where it will be. I only need an inch in here, so I'm going to come up here and cut this on an angle here and remove all this bit here. So I mark it so I can cut it. Also here in the middle, there's an inner brace right here. That inner brace is welded onto the rear panel. And I had 2 spot welds in, so I had to drill it out. And I got it marked now because I'm going to have to cut this piece out of there. Cut it down here and cut it down here and cut it across here, so that's a direct butt fit. Because when you go to do the cutting butt, you'll never get that piece out of there, so you got to remove it. And I went ahead and I marked it over here, so I can cut this side as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean up this piece here and get that out of the way. And I'm going to trim these up and get them where I like them. I see a lot of people drilling holes out there. I've been drilling holes over 30 years in panels, and I've always found that drilling it with a 1/8 drill bit, doing all my holes in a 1/8 drill bit first, and then doing them with like a step drill or a 1/4 bit, a lot easier. I see people just trying to drill holes with just the bit itself, and I just think you're chasing it all over the place. I find pre-drilling the holes at 1/8 are a lot faster. Here's a little trick for you. You're getting ready to install panels. You want to paint them. Put paint on the back side of them and on the panels itself. You're working in a cold garage. A little trick that I know is I'll turn around and I'll heat the panel up with a torch. Don't get it too hot. You can actually see the moisture coming out of it there. Chase the moisture out of it. Dry. Many have talked to me and asked me about this, about welding the panels together, and I have no paint between them. You've caught me. I'm guilty sometimes of doing it. It's probably a good habit to actually paint the panels in between joint panels. This is my car, so the only one I got to please is myself. You'd see me paint in there on other videos. But Well-through primers, I don't like them, okay? I used them years ago in the collision industry, and I had more troubles with them than what they're worth. Now, when you paint in between the two panels, you're going to have paint here. It's going to affect your welds. I don't like having nutting on my welds, right? I'll go in here now and I'll mark all these spot welds. Right? I'll mark all them spot welds on both sides, take the panel off, and I'll grind them areas where to. It's, you know, you're saying, but you're removing the paint. Yeah, you're going, when you weld it, you're going to remove it too, but I'm going to get a good penetration. The first few strikes of the arc on this here, you're going to get a lot of bubble gum. It's not going to adhere to the two metals. So it's always good to have a good clean surface to do your plug welds with. And as you can see the marks there, where I marked them. And all I did is I grinded them off, just a little tiny bit with a die grinder, just so there's enough there for the weld to take on bottom. You're going to burn all the paint around that area anyway. It's just, you know, you're trying to get as much protection in as you can. If you use weld-through primers, I highly recommend you do the same process, because that weld-through primer is nightmares at times. I've welded panels together with plug welds, and they not even stick. So I stopped using it. I never liked it. It has a good coating. It, you know, as a rust protection. All this is here is a good rust paint, and I put it on the in between the two panels, and then I'll do what I just done here, and I'll weld it together. And there it is on for the very last time. Got all clamped in place, ready to plug weld. All the plug welds are cleaned off, as you can see, ready to be welded. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weld on the ends, and I'm going to tack weld it across here, keep it nice and tight, and then I'm going to cut this on a 45-degree angle, and because this is all overlapped up here, and do the cutting butt up there and weld that in place. The next time you sees that, they'll be all welded in. And there it is, all welded in and grinded up. Have a look at it there. See the way the seam comes down, goes along the bottom edge, rolls in and everything. All right. Nice seaming along there. All right. Side here, same thing. All right. And on the inside then, you can see that it's all been welded. So that's another piece of the puzzle completed. Yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. Hope the tips were good, and until next time.